Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
When was the last time you felt in control of your business finances? Expenses tracked, invoices sent, taxes ready. That's where Found comes in. Found brings your banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes together in one simple app. Manage expenses, invoice clients, send payments, and prep for tax time right where you bank. Join the hundreds of thousands who have already streamlined their finances with Found. Open a Found account for free at found.com. That's FOUND.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC.
Welcome to Crime Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Laura.
Okay, I need you to picture something for me. It's just before 4 a.m. on a Tuesday in late June. Mason City, Iowa. The population is about 30,000. It's the kind of town where everybody knows the name of the woman on the morning news, where people set their coffee maker the night before so it's ready when her face comes on the screen. It's summer, so it's not freezing, but it's not light out yet either. That specific shade of dark that isn't quite night anymore, but isn't anything close to morning. That in-between hour where the whole world feels paused. And somewhere in a small apartment on North Kentucky Avenue, an alarm is going off.
The kind of alarm that you immediately hate at that time of morning.
Yeah, the kind of alarm that is deeply personally offensive, because this isn't a 7 a.m. alarm. This isn't even a 5 a.m. alarm. This woman is supposed to be at work at a television studio, almost camera ready, by 3:30 in the morning.
Oh, it sounds terrible. Makes me tired just hearing that time to have to be somewhere.
Yep. And yet, somehow this morning, for the first time, she doesn't make it. And here's the thing. She answers the phone when her producer calls her at 4:10 a.m. to check on her. Her voice is sleepy, a little rushed, completely normal. She says she overslept. She says she's heading right in. She never arrives. And when police get to her parking lot a few hours later, what they find is not nothing. It's not a mystery because there are no clues. It's a mystery because of what they find. A pair of red heels on the asphalt, a hairdryer, earrings, a set of car keys that are bent, like something had grabbed them and twisted, and drag marks leading away from her car. And then nothing. No Jodi, no witnesses, no answers, just those red shoes on the ground like a detail out of a nightmare.
Wow, that's a terrible image that stays with you.
It has stayed with investigators for 30 years. Today's case is the disappearance of Jodi Huisentruit. And I want to warn you up front, this one doesn't have a clean ending. There is no arrest. There is no confirmed answer. What there is 30 years of strange details, suspicious behavior, new developments as recently as last year, and a reward that is currently active right now as we're recording. Someone out there knows what happened in that parking lot. So let's talk about Jodi. Before we get to June of 1995, I want you to know who this woman was. I think sometimes in true crime, victims get reduced to the moment they disappeared. And Jodi was a whole, full, genuinely wonderful person before she became a cold case. She grew up in Long Prairie, Minnesota, a small town. She was the youngest of three daughters. And from very early on, it was clear she was one of those people who was just good at things.
Like naturally good at things or didn't have to try as hard?
Naturally. She was a standout athlete, specifically in golf. And not just she played golf, she was on her high school team when they won the Minnesota State Class A championship twice, back to back, 1985 and 1986.
Okay, yeah. So she was actually really good at golf.
Yeah, she was legitimately good. And that matters a little later because golf will actually come up on the last day of her life. Now, Jodi graduated from St. Cloud State University in Minnesota, and then she did something kind of unexpected. She became a flight attendant for Northwest Airlines, which honestly is very telling about who she was as a person. She liked people, she liked being in the middle of things, but it didn't stick. She felt like she had a different calling.
This was the TV personnel broadcasting.
Yeah, broadcasting. She had this line she used to say. Apparently, she told it to multiple people at different points in her career. She said she wanted to be on the air, not in the air.
Okay, that's actually really cool. That's a great line.
Yeah, it is a really great line. And it tells you everything. She was funny. She was self-aware. She knew exactly what she wanted. She started her TV career in Cedar Rapids, Iowa at the CBS affiliate there, working as a bureau chief. Then she went back to Minnesota for a bit, working at a smaller ABC affiliate in Alexandria. She was putting in the work, doing the small market grind, which, if you know anything about local TV news, you know that means early mornings, low pay, and a lot of being asked to do 12 things at once.
Not very glamorous, is it?
Not in the beginning, no, it is
No.
not glamorous. You are basically a one-woman production team in a market where your budget is roughly $14. But Jodi was good at it, and in 1993, she landed the morning anchor position at KIMT-TV in Mason City, Iowa, and that's where she found her people.
So she liked this job. She liked it there.
She loved it there. Mason City is not a huge city, like we mentioned, about 30,000. It's small enough that a local news anchor is genuinely recognizable and part of the community. And Jodi leaned into that completely. She went to local events. She played in charity golf tournaments. She made friends everywhere she went. Her coworkers adored her. One of them later described her as the kind of person who made the 3 a.m. call time feel worth it, which, I mean, that's high praise. That is, in my opinion, the highest praise.
Yeah.
No one feels that way about a 3 a.m. alarm unless someone is making it genuinely worth showing up for.
Yeah, it would take a special kind of person to make me feel like 3 a.m. is worth it.
Agreed.
And it sounds like she was one of those people, you know, the type. Everyone's a bit in love with them without it being weird or something.
Exactly that. Jodi was young. She was 27 years old in the summer of 1995. She was living alone in a small apartment only about a mile from the station. Her career was on an upward trajectory. Things were good. But I want to pause here for a second because there's something that gets easy to overlook in the early coverage of this case. Something that when you hear it, it kind of reframes everything.
Okay, that's interesting.
In the weeks before she disappeared, and not months, weeks, Jodi had been telling people close to her that something felt off, that she was getting phone calls she didn't want, harassing calls, the kind that make you not want to pick up your own phone.
Like kind of a stalker situation?
Possibly. She told friends, she told coworkers, and on June 26, 1995, the day before she vanished, She mentioned to people that she was planning to change her phone number because of it.
Oh, wow. Just the day before.
The day before. And it gets worse. 9 months earlier, which was October of 1994, Jodi had actually filed a police report. She said that while she was out jogging, a white truck followed her. It scared her enough to call the police, and then nothing. Police didn't find anything. Jodi didn't file another report. Life seemingly went on.
But it stuck with her, I'm guessing.
Right. She remembered it, and the people close to her remembered it too. Once she was missing, especially. And suddenly, all these little moments that felt like nothing, they started to feel like something. Like maybe someone had been watching Jodi for a long time before June 27th. But we're going to park that thread right there for now and come back to it because it connects to some things we need to talk about first. What I want to focus on right now is June 26th, which is the last day of Jodi's life that anyone can account for.
And that was the day of the golf tournament.
Right. The day of the golf tournament, she played in a local charity event, completely on brand for Jodi, out in the community doing her thing. And after that, the evening took a turn that is, in hindsight, one of the most quietly significant details in this entire case. She went to a friend's house to watch a video.
Okay, but that sounds pretty normal.
It does sound completely normal, and on the surface, it was. The friend's name is John Van Ice. He was a Mason City resident, and he and Jodi had become close. They had overlapping social circles, shared interests. Basically, they ran in the same orbit. Van Ice had thrown Jodi a surprise birthday party earlier that month. He had recorded the whole thing on video, and that evening, Jodi came over to his place to watch the tape.
Oh, that's sweet.
Very sweet, except, and I want to be careful here because we are going to spend a lot of time on John Van Ice later. He was 22 years older than Jodi.
Okay, but that's not automatically suspicious.
It's not. People have friends of different ages. That's completely real, but it's a detail I want you to hold on to because the nature of their friendship is something investigators have examined carefully over the years. And some of what came out later about Van Ice is a lot, but that's for later. What I want everyone listening to understand now is this. Jodi was a 27-year-old woman at the beginning of everything she had worked for. She was funny and warm and full of life. She was loved by her community. She had never, not once, missed a broadcast. She was being harassed by someone she couldn't identify. She was planning to change her phone number the very next day. And on the night of June 26th, she left John Van Ice's house, drove home, and went to sleep. She had set her alarm, and for the first and last time in her career, she overslept.
I just don't have a good gut feeling about that, any of that.
Yeah, you shouldn't. All right, let's talk about John Van Ice a little bit. I really want to be clear about something before I do, because this is a case where a lot of people have had a lot of opinions for a long time. And I think it's important to say John Van Ice was never charged with anything. He denied involvement in Jodi's disappearance until the day he died. And some of what I'm about to tell you is circumstantial. It's behavior, it's inconsistencies. It's not a conviction. It's not an arrest. But
There's always a but.
there's always a but. And this one is substantial. John Van Ice, born 1946, Iowa guy through and through. By 1995, he was in his late 40s, living in Mason City. And somehow he had become the fixture in the social life of a 27-year-old local news anchor.
And how exactly does that happen?
That is a good question. The short answer is overlapping social circles and shared hobbies. Jodi was the kind of person who collected friends the way some people collect houseplants, enthusiastically and without a lot of filtering. She loved people. She trusted people. And Van Ice had inserted himself into her world in a way that, at the time, probably just felt like a friendly older guy who liked to have people around. They water skied together. They went boating. He had a whole friend group that Jodi was kind of folded into, including another woman named Annie Cruz, who was also a close friend of Jodi's. On the surface, it all looked like a perfectly normal social situation.
Yeah, and he was throwing her birthday parties and making home videos of them. It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He was throwing her birthday parties, making home videos of them, which, again, not automatically sinister, but when you zoom out and look at the full picture of John Van Ice's behavior around Jodi, and especially around her disappearance, some things start to feel less like friendship and more like something else. Let's walk through the night of June 26th. So Jodi comes over to Van Ice's place after the golf tournament. They watched the birthday party tape. According to Van Ice, everything was normal. They had a good time. Jodi left his apartment around 11 p.m. That's what he told police.
Were they in any kind of relationship or just friend relationship?
They say just friends.
Okay.
Just socially friends. Mm-hmm. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A friend of Van Ice's, someone who was with him the following morning when he drove over to Jodi's apartment complex, later said that the two of them met up that morning. And before they even got in the car, before they knew any details about what had happened, Van Ice's first words were, quote, "She's gone."
Okay, wait, but how did he know about that?
That is the question, isn't it? At that point, all anyone knew was that Jodi hadn't shown up for work. She was late. She was missing. The scene in the parking lot was still being processed. There's no public announcement that anything serious had happened. And yet, according to this friend, Van Ice didn't say, "I hope she's okay." He didn't say something may be wrong. He said, "She's gone."
That's so interesting because that's not usually what you first suspect when someone overslept. Did they know what the scene looked like in the parking lot or just that she hadn't come to work?
He didn't know anything at this point. And gone is a word typically you would only use if you already knew the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had a friend that didn't show up to work, I would assume like a car accident or something, not automatically that they're gone.
Exactly. Now, that same friend of John's, and this is the detail that really gets me, noticed something when they got back to John's place afterwards. Deep tire tracks going the wrong way at the end of John's driveway. Like a car had pulled out in a direction it wouldn't normally go in a hurry.
What time were those noticed?
The friend noticed those that next morning after they were coming back to John's house after being at Jodi's apartment. And we don't know when exactly they were made, if they were made that morning or the night before.
So I'm kind of confused. So he didn't work with Jodi, right?
No, he didn't work with her.
And the friend that was picking him up in the morning didn't work with Jodi?
No, just one of John's friends.
Okay. So how
And
did
they're
they
just-
know? And so he didn't know anything. She just went to pick him up and he's like, she's gone.
Yeah, right.
They didn't
Yes.
even know that she had overslept or hadn't gone to work or anything like that.
They knew something had happened, that she hadn't come to work and
How did they
hadn't
know
shown up.
that? Did someone
I'm-
call them?
I'm guessing one of the mutual friends, like the one that they worked with, is the one that called.
Oh,
John.
okay. And
And-
she picked him up and they went to her house and then they saw the scene and then they went back to John's house.
Yes.
Okay. So that, what we just talked about was in the morning.
Right.
So what was the timeline the night before?
That's a little bit murky. John told police that Jodi left his place around 11 p.m. But here's another thing that came out later. In a separate conversation, not with police, but with this same friend, John described Jodi as having left his apartment drunk that night.
And so that's not what he told the police. That's different than what he reported.
Yeah, very different from what he told police. And it matters because if Jodi was impaired when she left his place, that changes the picture of her getting home safely, getting to sleep, waking up to her alarm, and heading out for work in a normal way the next morning. It's not that many hours before she was supposed to be at work. And it raises a question that nobody can fully answer. What actually happened between the time she left his apartment and the time she showed up to her own parking lot?
And we only really have his word for when she left. There's no like video cameras anywhere, right?
Right. 1995, we only have his word for when she left.
I can't imagine being awake at someone's house until 11 p.m. knowing I have to get up at 3 o'clock the next day.
Right?
That sounds horrible.
It sounds awful, especially if you are possibly drinking. That's going to make it so much more difficult for her to function at 3 a.m.
I know. If I stay up till 10:30 and get up at 6, I'm like,
right? Probably easier when you're in your 20s.
Maybe.
Know.
I guess that is true. And I was in my 20s. I think it was different.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Now, there's one more thing about John's behavior in the immediate aftermath of Jodi's disappearance that I think tells you a lot about who this man was. He showed up at the crime scene that morning before police had even finished processing it.
And he went with that friend. They went together. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why would they do that? That's so odd.
Right? I mean, if you're a concerned friend who heard something happened, maybe you rush over. Okay, I can understand that. The thing about John Van Ice is he didn't just show up. He made himself, quote, useful. He started talking to media almost immediately. 48 Hours showed up in Mason City within days of Jodi's disappearance, and John was right there giving interviews, connecting journalists with Jodi's friends, joining her family in the search. He told 48 Hours on camera, sitting on his boat, "She'll be back, just have patience. You can't be down because Jodi wouldn't want it," end quote.
And he's just hanging out on his personal boat having this interview.
Mm-hmm. Real casual on his boat. Now, his boat, he named after Jodi.
I'm sorry. He named his boat after her?
He named his boat after her. Yep.
A grown man, and he names his boat after his 27-year-old only friend, not even girlfriend.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right. Who he was 22 years older than, who he was throwing birthday parties for and making home videos of, and who had now just vanished. And now he's sitting on his boat giving interviews about how she'll be back.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I want to be fair here because this is important. John did take a polygraph test in the months after Jodi disappeared. He passed it. He cooperated initially with investigators. He gave interviews. He seemed on the surface like a man with nothing to hide. But as the years went on and investigators kept circling back to him, something shifted. He stopped cooperating. He went quiet. And the questions about him never fully went away. And in fact, those questions followed him all the way up to 2017.
Oh, wow. What happened in 2017?
Well, 22 years. So in 2017, after Jodi had disappeared, Mason City police obtained a search warrant. They placed GPS tracking devices on 2 of John's vehicles. They tracked his movements from Iowa all the way to Arizona, where he had relocated. And then, under a grand jury subpoena, he was ordered to come back to Iowa and provide DNA, fingerprints, and palm prints to federal authorities.
Oh, wow. So after 22 years, they brought him all the way back across state lines and everything.
Yeah, they did. And the warrant was sealed immediately because whatever was in that affidavit, whatever the investigators wrote to justify those GPS trackers, was considered sensitive enough that a judge kept it sealed for years. When John's
Wow.
attorneys tried to get it unsealed, prosecutors pushed back hard and they said it would compromise the investigation.
So there's definitely something in there.
There is definitely something in there. And as of right now, almost all of it is still sealed. A small portion was released in April of 2025, basically just the GPS coordinate data, which showed his travel route between Iowa and Arizona.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
When was the last time you felt in control of your business finances? Expenses tracked, invoices sent, taxes ready. That's where Found comes in. Found brings your banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes together in one simple app. Manage expenses, invoice clients, send payments, and prep for tax time right where you bank. Join the hundreds of thousands who have already streamlined their finances with Found. Open a Found account for free at found.com. That's FOUND.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC.
The actual affidavit, the part with the investigative details, is sealed indefinitely.
Oh, wow. Did John ever talk about what the warrant was for or anything?
He never publicly addressed it. He maintained his innocence, though. And then on December 6th, 2024, John Van Ice died in Phoenix, Arizona. He was 78 years old. He had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in his final years. Now, his family published no obituary.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, almost haunting because it means we may never fully know what was in that sealed affidavit. It means whatever investigators suspected, whatever those GPS trackers showed, whatever the palm print on the pole might connect to, which we'll talk about, may be locked away forever. The lead detective on the case has said publicly that this sealed warrant, quote, didn't pan out, but the affidavit with the full reasoning remains sealed anyways. And so John Van Ice, the man who was last to see Jodi alive, who said she's gone before he had any reason to know she was, who named his boat after her, passed the polygraph, then went quiet for decades. He's gone now too, without ever being charged and without really fully ever explaining himself.
That really is one of the most unsatisfying things you've ever told me.
I know. I'm sorry. Welcome to Cold Cases. But
My least favorite.
I know. Here's the thing, and this is something I really want you to hold on to going into the next part of this story. Even though John may be gone, this case, it's not closed. John was not the only person investigators looked at, not even close. In fact, some of the most jaw-dropping moments in this case didn't happen in 1995. They didn't happen in 2017. They happened in 2025.
Oh, so like last year.
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah.
There was a Hulu documentary that came out. It featured a new person of interest. There is a witness who looked at an unreleased police sketch, a sketch the public had never seen, and said she recognized the face immediately.
Oh, wow.
And the connection between that person and Jodi is the kind of thing that when you hear it, it makes you feel like you're watching a thriller unfold in real time. But we'll get to all that. First, let's talk about more in detail the morning of June 27th, 1995. Because before we talk about who did this, let's talk about what was left behind in the parking lot and what all of these clues tell us.
I have a feeling that I'm not going to like this.
No, you're absolutely not going to like this.
Great.
Great. Okay, let's go back to the parking lot. We're going to go slowly in detail the way this morning unfolded. I think it's one of the most important parts of understanding this case because It wasn't one dramatic moment of someone realizing something was wrong. It was this slow escalation, a series of small things that individually could have meant nothing, but together they mean everything. So 4:10 a.m., KIMT producer Amy Coons is at the station. The morning show called Daybreak goes live at 6 a.m., which means Jodi should have been there by 3:30 and she wasn't. So Amy picks up the phone and calls Jodi's apartment.
And she answers. Yes.
Correct. Jodi answers. And this is the part that I think it's underappreciated in most retellings of this story. People a lot of times tend to skip past it. But think about what that phone call meant. Jodi was alive at 4:10 a.m. She was coherent. She was in her apartment. She said she had overslept, which, for the record, she had never done before, not once in her entire time at KIMT. And she told Amy she was heading right in. Her voice, by all accounts, sounded normal, a little rushed, a little tired, but normal.
And it was like a house phone. It wasn't a cell phone that she called, right?
Correct. That's how we know for sure that she was at her apartment.
Okay. And in that moment, they had no reason to think anything was wrong.
Nope, no reason at all. Jodi just overslept. It happens. Amy hangs up, probably a little bit relieved, goes back to prepping the show, and assumes that Jodi will walk through the door any minute. But the minutes pass, and Jodi doesn't walk through the door.
And how long is it before they start to worry again?
Well, by 6 a.m., when the show was supposed to start and Jodi still hadn't arrived, Amy stepped in and anchored Daybreak herself. I mean, the show must go on, I guess. And now at the station, there's a low hum of concern in the building. Not panic yet, just where is she? She said she'd be right in 2 hours ago, and she only lives a mile away. And here's the thing about Jodi that I mentioned earlier. She had never missed a show. Not even that she had never slept in. She'd never missed a show, not one. This was a woman who dragged herself to work at 3:30 in the morning consistently, happily, and showed up every single time. So missing the alarm, maybe, but missing the show entirely, that was not Jodi.
So by 6 a.m., when the show's starting, people are definitely uneasy at the studio.
Mm-hmm. Uneasy. By 7:13 a.m., uneasy has become alarmed because now it's been over 3 hours since Jodi said she was on her way. And again, she lives 1 mile from the station.
1 mile. So she could be there really fast if she needed to be.
For sure. You could walk it in 20 minutes if you had to, and she was driving. There was no version of this where a 1 mile drive takes 3 hours, not one that ends well. So at 7:13 a.m., KIMT staff calls the Mason City Police Department, and they ask them to do a welfare check at Jodi's apartment on North Kentucky Avenue. And this is where the morning stops being a staffing problem and becomes something else entirely.
So what did they find?
When police arrived at the Key Apartments complex, the first thing they noticed was Jodi's car. She had a red Mazda Miata, which is a cute little car. It was a car she had just purchased, by the way, only a few weeks earlier, and she was so proud of that car. It was sitting right there in the parking lot. She hadn't driven to work. She hadn't driven anywhere. The car was exactly where it should have been.
So she never even made it to her car then.
Well, she made it to the car. That's the thing. She made it to the car. She just never made it inside the car. And what was around the car is what turned this from a missing person call or a welfare check into something investigators knew immediately was much more serious. Let me walk you through what was found because I want you to picture this scene like a detective would, not as a list of items, but whatever story the parking lot is trying to tell. Her red high heels were on the ground near the car, and not one, both of them, like they had come off her feet. Her hairdryer was on the pavement. She had clearly been in the middle of getting ready, running late, probably doing her hair as she packed her bag, doing 12 things at once, the way you do when you've overslept and you're trying to make up time. Her earrings were there, the kind of small detail that hits differently when you think about what that means. Earrings don't just fall off. Something had to happen for her earrings to end up on the ground. And then there were the keys.
The bent key, right? That
Right.
takes a lot to bend a key.
Yeah, right? A bent car key. From a purely physical standpoint, this detail is significant. Car keys, modern ones, metal, they don't bend easily. They're metal. For a key to bend, there has to be some real force involved, some real substantial force. The most likely explanation, the one investigators landed on almost immediately, is that Jodi was grabbed from behind while she was reaching towards her car with her key out, that the key was in her hand or at the door. And when she was grabbed, when whoever took her yanked her away from that car, the force of it bent that key.
That's what I was thinking. The only way I could think of for that to happen is if maybe she had just put it in and then she got yanked to the side.
Yes.
Maybe it was just how she was holding it. Even still, I feel like that would be so hard
I
to bend
agree.
your key.
Yeah,
But
I've
she
never
must
had
have been
that
right
happen.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, right at the car. Like she almost made it. And that is the most haunting thing about this whole scene, how close she was to being inside that locked car where maybe things could have gone differently.
And then there were the drag marks too. They were right by her car.
There were drag marks. They were leading away from the vehicle, from her car, which forensically tells us that Jodi did not go willingly, that her body, whether she was conscious or not at that point, was physically moved across the parking lot, pulled, dragged. A detective who reviewed the scene years later described it as clear evidence of significant force being used. Like this was not a quiet abduction. This was violent and it was fast. And it happened in a parking lot where not far away, people were asleep or getting ready for the day in their apartments.
Do you think that she could have been knocked out first and then dragged away?
Could have
And
been,
I feel
yeah.
like you would have let go of your key though.
Well, they found the keys, so she did let go of it. So
I
maybe
think you would
it
let
got
go of it in your
bent.
door.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you got hit over the head.
unless they grabbed her and then hit her over the head. I don't know.
It's just interesting. And none of the neighbors heard anything.
3 neighbors later told police they heard screams coming from the parking lot around the time Jodi would have been heading to the car.
And they didn't look outside or call anybody.
They heard the screams. They didn't call anyone. Now, I want to be fair. It is 4 a.m. It's summer. Sound travels. Strangely, and in the moment, you might tell yourself it was a TV, maybe a cat, maybe something else explainable. People rationalize sounds in the night all the time because the alternative, that something terrible is happening right outside your window, it's too big to sit with at 4 a.m. But those screams happened. 3 separate people heard them, and nobody came outside until she was gone.
Oh, that makes me feel so sad for her.
Me too.
So helpless. And public announcement, if you hear screaming in your parking lot, check outside or call the police or something.
Agreed.
Peek out your window. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Police.
Call
Yeah.
police. Even if it is a cat or a TV, maybe someone else heard it too, and maybe it is something.
Yeah. If they get 3 calls from the same place.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I called the police one time on sounds I was hearing from the parking lot.
I mean,
And it wasn't anything, but it could have been.
could have been. And better safe than sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
There is one more piece of physical evidence from that parking lot that I need to tell you about because it's the piece that has haunted this investigation for 30 years. On a pole near Jodi's car, investigators recovered a palm print.
From the attacker, they think?
Presumably, It was an unidentified palm print, meaning it didn't match anyone in the system at the time. It didn't match Jodi. Now, here's something I want to clarify because this detail has been reported wrong in a lot of places over the years. There was an early report that said investigators found a bloody palm print on Jodi's car. That's not accurate. The 2025 Hulu documentary actually had investigators go on record to correct that specifically. The palm print was on a nearby pole, and there's no confirmed report of it being bloody.
So it was misreported for years.
For years.
Wow.
Yeah. And that matters in a case with almost no physical evidence. The details that do exist need to be accurate. That palm print on the pole, unidentified, is potentially one of the only physical traces the attacker left behind. And as of right now, it has never been matched to anyone.
I know that you said that they subpoenaed a palm print from John. Did they ever get that?
They did.
Okay.
It's all sealed.
Okay.
30 years. They've got this palm print sitting in evidence at the Mason City Police Department, still unmatched, still waiting. Now, there's one other thing at that scene, one detail that doesn't get talked about as much as the shoes and the key. There's a white van.
Did one of the neighbors report seeing this?
Yeah, a neighbor reported seeing a white Ford van idling in the parking lot of Jodi's apartment complex around the time she would have been leaving for work. Just sitting there, engine running, in a residential parking lot at 4 a.m. Nobody got a license plate. Nobody got a clear look at the driver. By the time police were on the scene, the van was long gone.
That seems like such an odd thing to be sitting in the parking lot at 4 a.m. idling.
Yeah, just
Something
waiting.
to report.
Yes. And it's not like it was lost, not broken down. It was just waiting for something.
Well, and that along, if someone had seen that and heard the screams, I can't imagine not calling the police.
It had to be different neighbors, right? Because
It had to have been.
agreed. Yes.
Can you imagine, like, oh, yeah, did you see that white van out there? Yeah. Did you hear that screaming? Yeah. Oh, well, we'll just go back to bed.
Right? So
Like,
it had to be other neighbors.
Maybe other people.
These ones heard the screams. This one saw the van.
So I do have one more question for you. They found a hairdryer. Did she usually get ready at the studio? Because I could imagine, like, if she showered and then took all of her stuff to the studio to get ready, is that why she had her hairdryer?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Maybe she was going to finish drying if it didn't get dry enough on the way there. She had shoulder length blonde hair. It probably didn't take a real long time to dry, but she could get prepped and
even if she just showered and then took it there, because I don't know. I see, like, the morning show, they get ready at the studio. They come in, they do their full makeup and their hair and everything. So maybe she had showered and then was planning on blow drying her hair when she got there.
That's
blow
what
dryer
it sounds
just
like.
Felt like a weird detail.
Yeah, no, I think she was planning on getting ready once she was already there.
Okay. And then the earrings, had they been ripped out of her ears, or do they think she was holding them?
I get the feeling they think she was holding them. I do that a lot. It's like the last thing that I do before I'm leaving the house is try to grab 7 earrings. And it takes me like some time, especially if I have nails on, to put them all in. And I'll throw them. I have a little cup. Or if I'm like really unorganized, chaotic, and trying to leave super early, they'll like literally be in my hand because I lose them if I throw them in my big bag.
Oh, yeah. I cannot. They would have to go in my pocket.
Yeah, I usually don't have a pocket. So I like hold them until I get in the car and set them down and put them in one at a time.
That makes sense.
It makes sense to me that she could be holding those and drop them.
And the blow dryer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to the van.
Back to the van.
That was off topic.
No, it was perfect. File the van away.
Okay.
It will come back up later in a way that I promise you will not see coming.
Okay, always nervous about the white idling vans in parking lots.
You should be nervous about white idling vans in parking lots. All right. So the morning, by mid-morning on June 27th, 1995, this is what Mason City Police have. We have a 27-year-old woman, beloved local news anchor, never missed a day of work, her car in the parking lot, belongings scattered on the ground, the bent key, the drag marks, 3 people that heard screaming and did nothing, an unidentified palm print on a pole, and a white van that was there, and then it wasn't. They launched one of the largest searches in Iowa history that same day. The FBI gets involved. The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation comes in. Search teams cover the surrounding areas. Divers search the Winnebago River. Cadaver dogs sweep the river banks and the fields outside of town. They find nothing. No Jodi, no body, no car that shouldn't have been there, no trail leading anywhere, just the absence of her spreading outward in every direction like a ripple with no center.
And she's just gone. That's so scary.
Yeah, she was just gone. And the community of Mason City, this town of 30,000 people, where Jodi was a familiar face every single morning, was left trying to understand how someone could vanish from a parking lot 1 mile from where they worked in the middle of a summer night and leave behind almost nothing. And here's the thing that keeps coming back to me every time I dig into this case. This was not random.
You don't think it was random? Think it was planned?
That evidence does not support random. I do think it was planned. And think about everything we just walked through. Someone was in that parking lot at 4 a.m. in a van, not driving though, idling, waiting. They knew what time Jodi left for work. They knew which car was hers, where to be idling by. They knew she would be alone in a dark parking lot with nobody watching. This just does not feel like an opportunistic crime. It's planned. Someone maybe who had been watching Jodi, learning her schedule, learning her habits, waiting for the right moment. And remember what Jodi had been saying in the weeks before this happened. The harassing phone calls, the feeling of being followed. She planned to change her number the next day.
Yeah, I feel like she just felt something. She knew something was off. She could tell.
Right. She felt something. And whether she knew how serious it was, whether she connected all those pieces together in a clear picture, we can't know. But her instincts were telling her something. And she was taking steps to address it. And then she ran out of time by 1 day.
That is so devastating.
It's one of the most devastating things about this case. 1 day away from changing her number, 1 morning away from potentially a different routine, a different path, a different outcome. And instead, she overslept, rushed out to her car with her hairdryer and her heels, and someone was waiting. Jodi was declared legally dead in May of 2001. When she disappeared, she was 27 years old. As far as today, her body has never been found. And the search for whoever was waiting in that parking lot, that search is still going.
Wow, it's just so crazy, especially in such a small town, place where she's so well known. It's just wild.
It's really sad. And it makes sense why this case has captured the attention of so many for so long.
Yeah.
Well, there's still so much more to get into. This will be a 2-parter, but don't worry. Part 2 is already waiting for you. You know, I don't like to make anybody wait.
Yes.
I can't do it. But I also have a real hard time editing and importing and exporting episodes that are 3 hours long. So
Yeah. Yes.
this is a 2-parter. And when we come back, we're going to talk about who investigators think was behind the wheel of that white van. And some of what we find out is going to make your jaw drop, especially the thing about the van.
Can't forget about the van for a second.
No, it's coming. I promise.
It's always a white van.
Always.
Never good.
I think you've said before in episodes you don't like parking next to them, right?
Well, it's the whole thing. It's like, hey, if you come out and there's a white van parked by your driver's side and there's no windows and they're idling, get in on the passenger side. It's not something, it's something that people talk about outside of this, a safety thing. So,
and here it is in a case.
And here it is. It's true.
Yep. It is true.
It's always something that people talk about. I don't think I would ever buy a white van that doesn't have windows just because it would be so suspicious. It doesn't matter what I'm doing.
Oh, I agree. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Crime Clueless. If you want to read more about this case or see the resources that we used to create this episode, check out our blog and we'll link it in the show notes, or you can find it on our website, crimeclueless.com. We would love to connect with you on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. All of it, we're at Crime Clueless. We love to hear from you, your thoughts, theories, feedback, any case suggestions you might have, or anything you want us to research and cover. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take just a couple seconds to rate, review, and or share our podcast. Your rating means so much to us, and it really helps grow our channel. You can find Crime Clueless on all streaming platforms. And also, Crime Clueless is now on the platform Believe, which is BLEAV. We found a new home and we're very excited about our new home. So you might see that in our show notes or on our website. And it's been a great transition for us. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. And as always, remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murderers.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
When was the last time you felt in control of your business finances? Expenses tracked, invoices sent, taxes ready. That's where Found comes in. Found brings your banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes together in one simple app. Manage expenses, invoice clients, send payments, and prep for tax time right where you bank. Join the hundreds of thousands who have already streamlined their finances with Found. Open a Found account for free at found.com. That's FOUND.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC.